Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me on this space and connecting with me once again. I'm Mari, and today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. I'm doing a charcoal drawing, a portrait, and I wanted to kind of just discuss and talk a little bit about the process. What's going on at each stage of this drawing, which I think that you guys might find a little bit interesting. So for the first step, I'm just sketching out the bare bones with my pencil here. So we're going to go in, we're just going to roughly gauge where the eyes go and where the lips are. We're sketching out the outline of the jaw just so that we know where it ends. And this beginning stage, I wouldn't even call it like a phase one, it's just like a pre-phase one, is time to play. It's kind of me figuring out where the face ends and where it begins, and starting out with a little bit of the personality, trying to figure out which personality I want the portrait to portray. And the first phase is filling out the entire face, just kind of going from top to bottom and adding a little bit of shading. So this is still in its child phases. It's very easy to erase. So the first stage is extremely forgiving. You get to play around a little bit and figure out what you like and what you don't like. So I'm just adding all the shading here underneath the eyebrow bones, the cheekbones, under the nose, and under the lips, just to show exactly where the light is hitting the face. Lots of artists work in sections, completing detail and then moving to a different section, whereas I kind of just work top to bottom, doing one layer. Once that's done, I go again, top to bottom, do my second layer, and I'll do as many layers as I see fit until I'm happy with the finished product. So we're starting our second phase now, or our second coat. These lines are a little bit more intentional, so they are less forgiving and putting more pressure, because now that I have that shading or that shadow, I can see where the eyebrows are, I can see where they begin and end, and we're going in with pressure and more definition. And now that we have that shading done, we're going in with the lash line. Again, showing a little bit more definition, adding some more base layers of shadow to set the foundation for the outline of the jaw, which really starts to bring everything together. I love the contrast between the messiness of the shading and the hardness of the intentional line. There really isn't one without the other. Both are necessary for this type of piece. I would consider charcoal as my first love. It was how I taught myself how to do art back in the day around 11, 12, 13 years old. I started picking up charcoal pencils and sketching still lifes. So this is always a medium that I feel very, very comfortable with. It's extremely forgiving, it's so easy to use, and I do feel that charcoal, though it is a dry medium, it is very similar to oil paints. It has that push. You can slide it against the paper, similar to how you can do oil paints. And this particular charcoal is so forgiving that even if you do draw a hard line, you can still smudge it out of the paper. I have worked with other charcoals in the past that are not nearly as forgiving as this is, and these are so easy to use. However, when you do want a definite hard line that doesn't go away, it can be frustrating because your hand can smudge over it or something can happen and that hard line that you worked for is smudged right off the page. I've done some pastel work in the past where it has the same texture as you can see here with charcoal. However, it has a wide variety of color. So if you're looking for something that has this similar texture, but you would like to show color, I would definitely recommend pastels. And they have oil pastels and they also have chalky pastels. So, and I've worked with both. They are both great products. However, when I'm doing any kind of portrait or figure drawing, I do love to work in this kind of charcoal just because it's so easy. Like I've said a million times, it is so forgiving and it just looks beautiful. I feel like it really can reflect the movement of the body and the structure of the face so well. I paint a lot in oil, and though I love it, I always find myself coming back every once in a while to charcoal because it kind of feels like home. It feels like I just have a very good tie with it. My hand recognizes the medium so well. And then we're going to go in a little bit darker and add some more definition. There's something about the simplicity of charcoal drawings. You really have to rely on your skill and the way you see something without the distraction of shapes and color and all the great stuff that painting can bring and, doing art with color can bring. But it really pulls and strips everything down to the bare bones of your connection with this piece. There's no frills, there's no add-ons, there's really nothing. It's just the black and white dry medium that you're holding and how you view whatever it is you're looking at. So we've probably gone back and layered probably about 5 roughly 5 times or so. And it's still this recurring process of adding intentional lines, blending out what I don't want, and re-adding more sharp, vivid, intentional lines where necessary. So as I'm beginning to finish this drawing, I can see the personality starting to seep out even more. We're going to go in and we're adding the last touches in the hair, around the ears, and then we're going to go in again with the eraser. It's very rare that I draw people with their eyes closed. I love to paint the eyes and draw the eyes just because you can really sense the soul of the person. But for this one, I kind of wanted to try something a little bit more challenging to see if it ended up feeling the same, which I feel like it does. So with the hair, we're going to go in and we're just going to add a couple wispy strands to show that her hair is not perfect, and that is great. We want art to look as realistic as possible. So I'm just drawing some thin lines, going over it with my finger, very imperfectly, just showing a little bit more movement, a little bit more life. So I'm just completing this piece with a couple last minute finishing touches, a couple of lines and eraser marks here and there. But this is basically the finished product. I end up going in and redefining her nose a little bit, but for the most part, we are all done. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks again for spending your time.